South Africa will accelerate its renewable energy push, according to Electricity and Energy Minister Gautrain Ramokgopa. The pursuit by the newly reconfigured ministry will be ultra-aggressive and will result in SA having an exponential share of renewables in its energy mix. Ramokgopa's comments come as Eskom breached the 100-day mark with no load shedding, making a significant improvement in generation capacity for the power utility. The National Union of Metalworkers of South Africa has revised its wage increase demand for striking Gautrain workers. NUMSA is now asking for a 9% hike. That's from 13% previously. The move comes as employees affiliated to the union down tools this morning. Workers have been demanding a wage hike from the Bombela operating company since April. Sun International has called on the government to make obtaining a travel visa to South Africa easier. The gaming and hospitality group says the move will boost tourism and the economy. Speaking to Business Day, Sun City General Manager Brett Hoppe stated that while the group had experienced an uptick in local travelers, onerous visa requirements were slowing the return of international guests to pre-COVID levels, particularly those from China. Investec has informed its clients that it is winding down its 12-month tax-free fixed deposit account. The product will cease to exist from next year. This comes nearly 10 years after its launch. The specialist bank says it's doing away with the product in a move that indicates the offering is no longer fit for purpose for its clients. Investors aren't banking on Absa. The group's share price has declined 3.4% year to date. This is in sharp contrast to gains by the firm's rivals. Nedbank shares have gained 18% so far this year. First Rands are up 4.7%, while Standard Bank's counter has ticked up 1%. The loss in Absa's stock value reflects the challenges the company faced in the first half of the 2024 financial year. Last week, the bank said it expected to report a decline in earnings and profitability due to several headwinds, including high credit impairments and lower non-interest income. And further afield, Skydance Media and Paramount Global agreed to merge. The companies announced late Sunday evening opening a new chapter for one of Hollywood's oldest studios. Let's take a look at the detail.
Paramount and Skydance are to merge, starting a new chapter for one of Hollywood's most storied names. The two companies announced the move late on Sunday. Tycoon Shari Redstone will sell her controlling stake as part of a complex deal that will eventually result in a merger. Her family will pocket some $1.75 billion, ending an era. Late patriarch Sumner Redstone built the media empire, which includes CBS and MTV, as well as the namesake Paramount movie studio. The deal makes Skydance founder David Ellison a new Hollywood power player. But it also lands him with a host of challenges. Paramount has shed nearly $17 billion in value since 2019. That, as its traditional TV business faded faster than streaming service Paramount Plus could turn a profit. However, the deal caps months of tortuous negotiations, complicated by the firm's complex shareholder structure. Redstone only owned a minority of Paramount shares, but a big majority of the shares with voting rights. Sources say Ellison had to sweeten an earlier offer to win her support.
And France's left-wing New Popular Front has landed a surprise win over far-right's National Rally. The NP has secured most seats in the second round of the 2024 French legislative election, winning 182 seats. Here's our reporter Anatindevo with more.
And that is right, Zinati. France's left wing, the New Popular Front, grabbed the top spot in the second round of the French legislative election, pushing the far-right's National Rally to third place. And DW's correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu joins us now from Berlin with more. Chiponda, can you unpack the results? What's the latest on that political front?
Thanks for having me. Well, it was a historic election for France. There were fears that the far right would get a majority. So there's been celebrations in the country after the news that the left-wing New Popular Front alliance came out ahead of the far right RN, which of course came in third place after President Macron's centrist Ensemble alliance. However, none of the three blocs managed to land an absolute majority. And that means that France has a hung parliament, and that's going to be a bit of a headache for the French president to begin with. He needs to pick a prime minister that has the support of parliament. If he doesn't, the National Assembly can put in a motion of no confidence and have the prime minister removed, and then the government would submit its resignation to the president. Now, given the results of these elections, it looks like the government will be forced into what the French call a cohabitation, a situation where the president and the prime minister are not from the same political blocs.
And Chiponda, how will this affect France?
Well, as you can imagine, such a division of power between two political camps with very different goals leads to more friction. The result is a much slower and more complicated decision-making process. And the success of a cohabitation really depends on how well the prime minister and the president can work together. And there's been three such cohabitations in 7 decades of France's Fifth Republic. Now, in a cohabitation, the functions of the president of the French Republic are temporarily transferred to the prime minister. So whoever is prime minister, rather than Macron, will be the one setting the broader policy lines. And that, of course, has a bigger implication for domestic policy in particular, because the government has more room to maneuver in the cohabitation. But that's different, of course, for foreign and security policy. In those areas, the government shares power with the president, who is responsible for international relations.
Speaking of power, Chiponda, what does this mean for the French economy?
Well, the good news for the French economy is that we now know what France's new government will potentially look like. The bad news, though, is that the new constellation, will probably lead to gridlock. President Macron's centrist alliance will now have to work with the New Popular Front, the NFP, and that includes the far left and France Unbowed, the Socialist Party, the Greens, and the Communist Party. And that is a whole lot of parties, of course, which all have their own agendas. The NFP is considered anti-capitalist, and it is planning to withdraw Macron's 2023 controversial pension reform, which raised the minimum retirement age to 64 from 62. Now, that's despite the fact that France has one of the EU's highest public debt levels, around 110% of GDP. And that was one of the reasons why S&P downgraded France's credit rating at the end of May. And the European Union recently opened an excessive deficit procedure against France. Now, experts say more instability could be looming. With so many parties being forced to work together, political gridlock and perhaps an even higher public spending are two things that can be expected. And of course, that's no good news given France's high public debt levels.
Well, let's leave it there for now. Chiponda, thank you so much for those updates. That was DW's Chiponda Chimbelu.